my friends. Chris Marcus here with you on Friday, January 25th. Happy New Year. Hope everyone celebrated safely and is doing well out there. And of course, today we have our weekly market wrap-up. Certainly what to look for coming into 2018. Well, I guess I'm a little biased. I think silver is going to explode every year. But with that said, I do think that there are things happening beneath the surface, directly in our faces, all over the place that have really set 2018 to be up to be quite a stunning year, certainly financially, politically, and really in terms of ways the world is shifting and things are changing, fortunately in a good way. And perhaps one way of putting that into perspective, I know the cryptos, what it means to everyone can be different, so I can only share my own impression. But again, maybe in a real extreme way, one manner of looking at it is that I see the cryptos almost as a peaceful revolution, where obviously Bitcoin gets the attention and people are wondering whether it's a bubble, and that's fine and not going to dig into that as much today, but thinking about some of the other cryptos, especially the ones that are being designed really to replace a lot of the, I would say, failed banking infrastructure. Maybe it's still ongoing, but again, the simple example I always look at is thinking about how since the Fed was invented in 1913, it printed away 99% of the value of gold. If gold were not manipulated, it would probably be substantially higher, and maybe we'd have 0.1% left. You know, again, you saw back in 2008, 2009, all the money that was lost with subprime bubbles and crappy toxic debt. And that's what the cryptos really symbolize to me, is shifting over to a system where you can do a lot of the same things, except not getting raided and pilfered by the banks or the governments or the politicians. And especially the whole advantage of a cryptocurrency is that now you can't print it anymore. You can't say, all right, well, we want to buy some more tanks to go blow some other place up. Let's print up a fresh batch of hundreds. The cryptocurrencies in particular prevent that. Again, I know some people get concerned about, well, there's however many cryptocurrencies there are, which keep in mind that really before the reign of the petrodollar, that was quite a bit more common even throughout the history of the United States. Was reading the other day about how, I forget exactly what time period this was, but we used to have regional banks that were using their own currencies, and to the degree that you're allowing free market competition, that the better of a product you provide, the more people will want to use it. I think that's certainly applying here, which is exciting. And just imagine if that 99% of everything that's been taken through inflation, which I think is what people miss, really the extent. I think they get it, all right, these guys print a lot of money, but really, if you imagine that you're getting 1% of your paycheck because the banks are eating the rest, and now imagine if you even got, if you even went from 1 to 10%, it'd be like the guy who's earning $40,000 or $50,000 a year, now having the equivalent of $400,000 or $500,000 a year, which is interesting to me because I don't think life was designed to be as seemingly difficult as it's been for so many people. And oddly enough, I think that the cryptos are helping to bring about some really positive change, really to the standpoint of where when I started digging into gold and silver and the US balance sheet and fiscal position back in 2009, seeing how distorted the system was, and having just lived through a housing bubble and seeing that it sure looked like the next one was going to be bigger and more severe, that was a big part of the reason why I actually left the US for a year and a half. I'm back in Denver now. But I guess the point being that I used to be very fearful, wondering if we're going to be shooting each other in the streets, Whereas now it really is incredible the way free market entrepreneurialism has created a solution that really can just leave behind all the guys that want to rip each other off or steal stuff. And so to me, 2018, I think, is going to be a great year for people who are honest, like treating other people well, like being a good person, offering their special gift to the world, and being able to receive the things that we want and need to live and enjoy life. So with that said, now enough of the positive thinking. Let's dig into some quick news here. Again, I'm not going to play this today, but there's a video here, 2018 Year of the Pedo Perp Walks by Bill Holter. I always have mixed emotions about how much to dig into some of these things. I respect Bill a lot. I think he's a great researcher. And in this video, gets into some of the things that are really leading to a lot of these changes, because again, there's so much information on the internet, some of which is accurate, some of which is not. So I'm not going to sit here and try and prove to anyone whether Uranium-1 is being reported as accurate, or what some of these household political big names that we've come to know have been getting involved in. Except I will just leave it as, if you are interested to know more, you can see that video with Bill there. You can type that in. And I'll just leave it in the terms that in 2018, I believe that we will be receiving information and finding out about things that have gone on behind the scenes that are stunning, to the degree that, I guess, as I've heard it phrased once, if some of the information were released all at once, it would simply just be too much for people to handle. Sometimes I'm even stunned, having been digging down the rabbit hole for the last 10 years or so. Especially if you research the banks, read books like Confessions of an Economic Hitman or The Creature from Jekyll Island, where it's almost impossible to believe that some of the things that could go on. Yet keep in mind, one easy way of putting it in perspective is that, you know, you look back at the war on Iraq with the weapons of mass destruction that we found out later didn't exist, and also that they were very well aware. They knew that they didn't exist, yet went to initiate a war, which, just because you won a student council election and have a title and call yourself president or Congress, to me, is that not mass murder? So, you know, you're talking about a lot of these same people that have a mindset that I would consider unhealthy. Again, my point isn't to sit here and judge anyone, but just trying to put it into terms that are a little easier to accept, to help hopefully prepare people to some degree for some of the things that are coming out, because it can be a lot to handle. And well, for whatever it's worth, since it's my video here, I'm going to go on a quick tangent, but we'll stay on the reservation. The way I look at it is that anytime someone does something harmful or hurtful to another person, obviously if we're on the receiving end of that, it doesn't feel good. Yet I think on some level that when that happens, you know, nobody wants to be the bad guy. Nobody wants to be the evil person. And not that it's an excuse, but I've always imagined, to get to the point where people launch wars or go hurt other people, you know, in some way they're in their own pain themselves. So I don't know if I subscribe to the let's get the Clintons or the Bushes, and when people find out about some of the things it appears they've been involved with, that, you know, and I don't know what is the right answer there, but you know, the idea of one-upping and hurting them back more. I think at some point we have enough evidence to see that there's got to be some point where we say, all right, it's time to forgive and move on. And so I don't know how you feel about that one. Just my own personal views, which I respect everyone's right to see that in their own way. And again, without putting too much heavy information to start the new year, I'll let you watch Bill Holter's video if you want to know more. But the reason that it's relevant is that these things are connected, whether it's the money printing or just finding out about the corruption and deceit that's been going on by a lot of the people that we've been trusting. Here's further news. The Petro Yuan is now imminent. And we got an interview from Greg Hunter. I'll look forward to listening to that as soon as we're done recording here. You know, there's reasons why these things are happening, and I remember years ago when I thought, well, at some point there's going to have to be a break in the system, and used to wonder if whether maybe be something like the petrodollar collapsing, which sure enough, here we are in 2018, and the fact that a Petro Yuan, there had been speculation about it for a while, and then there was some debate about whether it was accurate or actually happening, and I think it was last week's video mentioned that testing has begun, and we'll keep an eye on this. I'll look forward to seeing what Greg has to say. Great YouTube channel, so by all means, go check out Greg's weekly news wrap-up, probably worth your time. And as all these things are happening, of course, cryptos are going nuts. Their Bitcoin is over 17,000. They're one of my best friends these days, Litecoin, up 17% today. I have a couple Litecoins, so that's good news. There's Omizigo at 19 bucks. Populous. One of my favorites that if you're into the cryptos, again, I'm not a coder. I've been listening to YouTube on double speed for the past couple months, getting up to speed and learning as much as I can as quickly as possible. So by all means, I'd say I'm in the point where I feel comfortable enough to invest in some of them. Based on my understanding, do I consider myself an expert? No, yet. And I'll say in terms of ones worth looking into more, Veritasium, as you see there, which really is positioned to replace a lot of this failed banking infrastructure. To hear it better explained, I'd suggest if you Google or go to YouTube, look for Cliff High, interviewing Reggie Middleton, who is the founder of Veritasium. Reggie also has his own YouTube channel where he digs into it a bit more. I even have to watch some of these videos 2 or 3 times because it is, you know, it's like I can't explain to you what an Oracle router does, yet I appreciate that my computer works. I don't even know if Oracle makes routers or how, but, you know, to the degree where if you can see the impact that it could lead to, and everything that I've heard about Veritasium has me pretty excited. So one to look into. And certainly as we kick off the year here, I mean, everyone's wondering, is it a bubble? Are prices going higher? Personally, I think as much as prices have gone up in 2017, I think that will be blown away by what we see in 2018. By all means, if someone feels that it's a bubble, I can certainly understand that. And if it weren't the combination of all these things, they're all connected. Where here you're seeing the people who've been running the dollar and running these countries are going down. There's actually, and this is complete rumor mill, I have no idea whether it's true or not, but it's just so darn fascinating, I'm going to throw it out there anyway. There are rumors that in the week following Christmas, there were several high-profile names arrested, possibly even taken down to Guantanamo Bay, names that have been presidents in recent years and high government officials. Whether that's true or not, I couldn't tell you, although I have heard it now in two different sources that tend to be accurate on these things. And again, whether it's that example, I think you will be getting confirmation of things like that this year. So these things are all playing together, you know, China creating a petro yuan, and partly the rise in the cryptos, which really got manic about a month ago. And I've mentioned this before, and I'm feeling more and more comfortable that perhaps it is an accurate explanation of what might be going on. Certainly the cryptos are rising in value to some extent, although I'm beginning to feel more and more that there is a hyperinflation of the dollar that has begun, because some of the rates at which we've seen them go up is quite stunning. And again, just keeps reminding me of everything I've read about Weimar Germany and really the kind of things that you would expect when a failed currency is finally collapsing. Wow, look at Ethereum up over $1,000. Should have bought some more of that. But anyway, you know, again, it's like you would normally see these things reflected in the stock market, reflected in the bond market, reflected in the price of gold and silver. But as I've rambled on for the past year about here and in columns, you know, these markets are all being distorted, yet the one that can't as easily be manipulated, to me, is flashing the signs that money's leaving the system. And I would say without that, I would be very cautious investing at some of these levels. But in the case that that's accurate and that you have a lot of money in those stocks, bond, and derivative markets, that I do believe some of these elite politicians and bankers are aware of and have begun pulling their money out and putting into cryptos, because I think they're well aware of their system crashing and being near its end. Keep in mind, I think we're still around 1% adoption of the crypto system. It's still, a lot of it is new, but especially Litecoin and Salt and some of these companies, I hear a lot of the announcements of the products actually being used are coming this year. For example, with Veritasium, basically there's been a discussion between them and the Jamaican Stock Exchange to recode the exchange in a peer-to-peer manner, which in my understanding would be highly dominant to the flawed system we have now, where even when you buy a share of stock, I'm not sure whether you really own it. If you want to dig more into that, certainly there are people who can speak to the detail and minutia at a higher level, should you want such a thing. Google hypothecation and rehypothecation. If you remember John Corzine's scandal a couple of years ago, that can dig more into it, but just to keep things light and flowing here tonight, you know, just giving you an idea of, it's a lot of factors combining. So I have not actually traded in or out of any of my cryptos since I bought them throughout the last 6 months of 2017. And for the most part, I'm still going with my strategy to do as little as possible. I know that there's a temptation to try and guess the tops and bottoms, and if you figure that out, again, please email me and invite me over someday, because I'd love to know how to do that. Yet to me, what can make it a lot simpler is just looking at the bigger picture, the forces that are building in the world, pick some companies that are positioned to do well in that environment and leave them. And my personal feeling is that if I manage to do that and not outthink myself, be in pretty good shape. And one theme for 2018 that I plan on writing and talking quite a bit about will be a bit along the lines of money management. Certainly, if you've been invested in cryptos, and hopefully it's gone really well, it's been a big year for a lot of people in 2017. And on one hand, if everything I just said so far is correct, then, you know, you do have a lot of upside. Of course, maybe there's something I miss, or someone sees something differently. There can be room to the downside as well. So, that's a personal balance that everyone always has to factor in given their own situation, yet to the degree that you do have another asset in gold and silver, silver in particular, that really has a similar profile to the cryptos, and yet the cryptos at least have already moved, so they're a bit higher in price, whereas silver here it closed today $17.16. Price of cost to get silver out of the ground around 13 to 15 bucks. So it's, to the degree that you can sell something high and buy something else low. I love buying silver here. I am not done it yet, although plan to, in the near future, take some crypto profits, reallocate into silver. Because while I think cryptos are going to go higher, sometimes you're right in trading, sometimes you're not. Again, the shop that I was traded at, interesting place, Susquehanna, we were an option trading shop, actually founded by a bunch of guys that were really smart with statistics and probability. They would go to the racetrack and win, applied that methodology to option trading. And the reason I mention this is that, we're not often given guarantees in the market, especially for the really good opportunities. But it's really more of looking at these things in terms of probabilities, in the sense that, let's say we're flipping coins and I say I'll give you 75 cents every time you win, you only have to pay me a quarter every time you lose. Well, as long as you adjust your bankroll and so that for the size of the trade, and it's actually a fair coin, you're going to end up doing really well if you get to keep playing that game. Now, on the other hand, let's say I offer to let you play that game one time for $2 or $3, but you need to take the bus home or else you have a real problem. And, maybe the first flip comes and you lose, and that essentially blows you out. You can't keep playing. Yet, if you have $100 or $1,000 and you get the opportunity to have the odds in your favor consistently, and you can keep making that bet over and over again, that's when you can do really well trading. So there are no guarantees, but I think there are some good bets to be made. By all means, leave any comments below or questions or ideas that you might have. And never any right or wrong answers, but always good to be learning and thinking. And I think it's an exciting environment. Have a couple new friends who are new to this, but really getting excited and learning, especially with the cryptos. I think that's a big advantage, where I get it that there are some people hopping into the market that couldn't tell the difference between a crypto and a potato. Yet at the same time, it's still would, in fact, today I even recommended to a good friend of mine. I gave her $10 if she would promise to buy Litecoin with it, just because, you don't have to go out and invest thousands of dollars, but that was something I thought of earlier this year, where I kept thinking, just go through the process of opening the account, and it kind of naturally leads you to learn about things and hopefully understand more why things are developing the way they are, because I can sit here and talk to you about it all day. Although when you do something and get your own experience, there's really nothing to replace that. So anyway, with that said, we're going to wrap up for today, but hope everybody's 2018 is off to a great start. Glad to be here with you today. A lot of exciting things happening that I'll be looking forward to sharing with you this year. A lot of interesting developments coming up. So you want to hit that subscribe button, right down there. Hit it now. And we will see you again soon. God bless you all, and thanks for watching.